Hi, we are Bernardita Larcón and Gabriela Navarro. Um, the first part of our work is the context of the dilemma. Number two, the second part is the solution. And the third part is the ethical principles that we are going to use to give the solution. And the last part is a reflection that we did to conclude our work. First part is the description of the situation or context. Miss Jackson is a teacher who has been teaching for a year now in a local high school. She's in a self-contained class, and this is a classroom with a less number of students. It is a more personalized class, and she's with children who have special needs. She also is specialized in different types of assessments, including standardized tests. She applied one of these tests to her class, and the principal concerned about the bad results that a student got on the test. He suggested her to acknowledge the wrong answers as good for questions she knew the student might have been able to answer correctly, but that he did wrong on the test.
The solution of our dilemma is first, we think that the purpose of the tests is to identify what students did learn and what they did not, and it is also a tool to recognize the process that a student goes through when learning, and consequently as teachers we can see what strategies and activities did work and which ones did not. Testing students is a way to reinforce their autonomy when a student a subject. For instance, if they study by their own in their homes. But what if you have a student who learns differently from the rest of the students? This is the case of Miss Jackson, who has to deal with a variety of children. One of them had bad results in a test. Even though you know this child could do it better on the test, it is not possible for us to know the real results of the student if you alter the answers of a test. Then how can you improve your teaching techniques or how can you change your techniques or improve your techniques to this particular class, and furthermore the learning of this student?
Our solution will be based on two hypotheses. The first one is supposing that the principal needs to change the results because it is detrimental for the image of the school. In this case, we think that he's not thinking about the dignity of the student and his or her right to receive a transparent education. He's not thinking about the other students either. He does not take into account the justice and respect for others in an educational institution. Finally, he is being disrespectful with the teacher's labor because he's not considering the work and the process that the teacher went through for attaining the students' learning.
The second hypothesis is that the principal is underestimating the student's performance because he may think that he or she cannot do it better, and the only way to help her or him is changing the results on his or her favor. We think that this shows a lack of professionalism from the principal, since he's doing something harmful to the student rather than helpful. If he's aiming to encourage students, that is not the right way to do it. In our opinion, he's fostering conformism when what he should do is to see the mistakes as advantages or a place to begin changes. First, the principal should reflect on his own thoughts about what is his role within the school community. Is it to profit with the education of students or to guarantee a favorable education for them? If his answer is to get economic benefits from the institution, he should not be working in a school or he should reconsider it. If he wants to assure high quality education, he should look for ways to prevent these sort of events.
However, when the results are already bad, the teacher, together with the principal and the rest of the teachers of the area, should look for strategies in order to prevent these events to happen in the future. To identify why students are failing and try to change some strategies or techniques teaching to these particular students.
We based our solution in the following principles. We as teachers should have autonomy to respect people's rights because we are working with human beings who deserve a fair treatment. Moreover, justice deals with the power of relationships and how we tend to see that teachers and authorities of a school usually abuse of their power in institutions. And in this case, the principal is using his power to his own benefit, changing the grade of a student. In a way or another, the principal is not considering at all the teacher's work, making a huge damage not only to the teacher but also to the student. And to be a professional, or in order to be a professional, we need to have a responsible care for students because we are in charge of them, for saying in some way. And finally, neither the teacher nor the principal are being honest with themselves and with the student, abolishing the real results of the tests.
Based on our hypothesis, the principal and the teacher are struggling between two logics: professional responsibility and professional accountability. On one hand, to be accountable is to assume the consequences of your action. In this case, if the teacher or Miss Jackson is applying a standardized test, she's doing it for a reason, and it is not acceptable to modify the results because you cannot go against the laws or you cannot go against what has been established. And on the other hand, responsibility deals with your moral and values as a human and as a professional. It also deals how do you behave towards those parameters.
We believe that as a teacher, you should be accountable and at the same time to be responsible. This means that you should not be against the rules previously stipulated by an educational institution because those laws are made for a reason. To be responsible means these laws should make sense to you, and hopefully teachers should be represented by the school programs and procedures. For us as future teachers, to be accountable or responsible, it will depend on the context in which you are, because there are situations in which you should look for your students, even though if that implies to change the rules.
In our opinion, to be accountable would be the proper manner to behave in this case, because together with the school community, they have decided to implement a standardized test, even though we think that standardized tests are not always the best manner to measure the students' learning process. Besides, this test is not defining the student future, rather it will help the teacher development of her methodology and techniques, and also to know the student weaknesses.
Part of our final reflection is that in a professional field there will always be laws, norms, and rules that workers have to follow. There are always hierarchical entities that we must respect or obey. But what if we disagree with some decisions of these institutions and entities? As future teachers, we think that students are the most important essence of our job. That's why we are teachers and we are working in classrooms. And we must look after them, look after their welfare, their dignity, and process of learning. And from our perspective, changing the grades of students, thinking that is something positive for her or for him, for students, is a disrespectful and irresponsible act from the institution, as well as the teacher itself. Furthermore, we believe that being ethical is something important and necessary for every human person. No matter what the role you have inside a society and the place you are working in. In this case, the principal is crossing every boundary of respect from the student. The principal, the person who is in charge of the educational institution and also of teachers, the entity who guides the rest of the school community, must have a sense of ethics and moral within people who are around him and with people who work with him.
Thank you. This was our work, task number 2.
Bye.